Hello and welcome back to the Smash Archive, the series where we look at every game franchise represented in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's time to go through another round of minor Nintendo series that got their start on specific platforms, this time being the series that started on the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, and GameCube. Now, similar to the last video like this one, I was originally going to do one video for the N64 games and another for the GameCube and GBA games. But as it turns out, there's only 3 minor series that started on the N64 which are represented in Smash, so I've decided to combine them together for this video. So without further ado, let's get started. 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, if you couldn't tell from the title, was a snowboard racing game for the Nintendo 64, with the idea coming about when Miyamoto wanted to make a skiing game after finishing Wave Race 64, though it was switched to snowboarding due to that being a big trend at the time, with 1080 even being set in the same universe as the Wave Race series. The game did really well sales and review wise, with it also getting a sequel on the GameCube with 1080 Degrees Avalanche. However, since then the series has remained dormant, most likely due to the decline in popularity for extreme sports games, following an oversaturation caused by the popularity of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. Because of that, there's not much from the 1080 series. First, we have a music track with the theme for the Golden Forest and Deadly Fall levels from the original 1080 Degrees Snowboarding. In addition, there's Spirit number 1159, Akari Hayami, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Impact Run. One of the series' playable characters with high technique, balance, and jump stats, along with average max speed and low power, with Akari also being the younger sister to Wave Race's Ryota Hayami. The artwork is taken from 1080 Degrees Avalanche, where she has the best turning stat in the game. Custom Robo is a series of games that focuses on building customizable robots in order for them to combat each other in virtual coliseums called Holoseums, with the games having been made by the company Noise, with the only somewhat notable titles they worked on outside of Custom Robo being a Katamari Damacy puzzle game released exclusively in Japan, and a free-to-play Dragon Quest game for mobile phones. The series was originally Japan only, with the original game and its sequel Custom Robo V2 for the N64, as well as Custom Robo GX for the Game Boy Advance not releasing in Western regions. However, the fourth game, Custom Robo Battle Revolution for the GameCube, did see release in America, with it being renamed to simply Custom Robo. The series would get one more entry with Custom Robo Arena for the DS, which is also the only entry to have seen release in Europe, with the only thing done with the series since then being Japan-only re-releases of Custom Robo V2. Due to the series' long history, there's a good amount of content from Custom Robo. To start off, we have a Mii Gunner costume based on Ray Mark III, this being the most recent iteration of the Ray series robots, which is used by the main protagonist of Custom Robo Arena. Along with that, there's 4 spirits. Number 1160, Ray Mark II, a 3-slot advanced primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. A Ray series robot introduced in and used by the main protagonist of Custom Robo V2. The artwork is from Custom Robo Arena, where like V2, Ray Mark II is the robo you start the game with. Number 1161, Ray Mark III, a 3-slot Ace primary grab spirit with the effect Lightweight. This robo is earned when you give your dad Ray Mark II whilst at Neo Brain, at which point it then becomes the main robo you use for the rest of the game. Number 1162, Flare, a 3-slot novice primary neutral spirit with the effect Weight Down, a Robo from the original custom Robo used by Karen, a childhood friend of the main protagonist's cousin Shinichi. The artwork is from custom Robo V2, where Flare can be unlocked after beating Karen in Robodoc's lab. And number 1163, Bayonet, a 2-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a steel diver. An illegal Robo from custom Robo V2, which was created when twin brothers Tsurugi and Yaiba fused their Robos, Spear and Lance. Bayonet acts as the final opponent of the Bronze Tower, which has you fight 10 enemies in a row after collecting all the bronze trophies. Sin and Punishment, Successor to the Earth, often just called Sin and Punishment, is an on-rail shooter released exclusively in Japan for the N64, which was developed alongside Treasure, a studio consisting of ex-Konami employees, with them being known for titles like Gunstar Heroes, Wario World, and Ikaruga. The game takes place in the post-apocalyptic future of 2007, where after an attempt to create artificial food to combat a shortage brought about by overpopulation, mutated life forms called ruffians were created by accident, with them then attacking humanity. In response, an international peacekeeping army called the Armed Volunteers were sent out to deal with them, but after they started oppressing Japan due to the ruffians originating from there, another force called the Savior Group are formed to save Japan from both the ruffians and the Armed Volunteers. Eventually, due to fan demand, as well as Sakiyama Maya, one of the game's protagonists, appearing in Smash Bros. Brawl as an assist trophy, Sin and Punishment would not only get released outside Japan via the Wii's Virtual Console, but the Wii would also get a sequel dubbed Sin and Punishment Star Successor, or Sin and Punishment Successor of the Skies in Europe. Due to the series' cult following, there's a decent amount of content from Sin and Punishment. To start, there's a Mii Gunner costume based on Sakiyama Maya, the male protagonist of the original Sin and Punishment, with the gun being Saki's dolphin gun. Then there's two spirits. Number 1164, Sakiyama Maya, a 2-slot ace primary attack spirit. Saki was someone who had actually died before being revived and given supernatural powers by the Savior Group, with him ending up as one of the 3 survivors from a purge of Savior Group members, along with Iron Jo, the game's female protagonist, and a woman called Aichi. And number 1165, Issa Jo, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a beam sword, the son of Sakiyama Maya and Iron Jo, with him first showing up during stage 6 as part of a dream sequence. The art is from Sin and Punishment Star Successor, where he took the role of main protagonist, with him being able to fly around using a jetpack. Kururin is a puzzle game for the Game Boy Advance which focuses on navigating a maze whilst piloting a ship that is constantly spinning, making sure its wings don't hit the sides of the maze, with the game being developed by A-Ting, who have worked on titles such as Tatsunoko vs Capcom, Marvel vs Capcom 3, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Whilst the first game did see release in Europe, both of Kururin's sequels were Japan exclusives, those being Kururin Paradise, which was effectively the same game but with new courses and the addition of boss fights, and Kururin Squash, which was the first entry to use 3D models thanks to it being the only entry on home consoles. Since this is one of the more obscure series, not much is taken from Kururin. The only thing taken is spirit number 1166, Hellerin, a 2-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a screw attack, this being the machine Kururin pilots in order to find his siblings after they go missing. The art is from Kururin Squash, likely due to it being the most recent game in the series. Napoleon is a strategy RPG for the Game Boy Advance which puts the player in the role of Napoleon Bonaparte during his wars against the British, albeit with some creative liberties, with Napoleon also fighting man-eating ogres and abominable snowmen. The game was developed by Genki, a studio mainly known for racing games such as the Tokyo Extreme Racer series, with Napoleon only seen release in Japan and France, with the French version being retitled to L'Aigle de Guerre Air, or the Eagle of War. Due to the limited release, this is another really obscure game, meaning we don't have much to go over. Only one thing is taken from Napoleon, with spirit number 1167, Alessandro Inzaghi, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect critical health attack up. This being one of the game's first commanders who's been close friends with Napoleon since they attended military school together. Golden Sun is a series of RPGs made by Camelot Software Planning, who most people will recognise as the developers of the Mario Tennis and Golf series. The games follow groups of teenagers who are capable of using elemental magic called Synergy, with the first game seeing them set out to save the land of Wayard from a group of people attempting to release a destructive power that was sealed away called alchemy. Originally, Golden Sun was supposed to release for the Nintendo 64, but later shifted to the Game Boy Advance, with technical restraints forcing the game to be split into two halves, the first half releasing as the original Golden Sun, with the second half becoming its sequel, Golden Sun The Lost Age, with there also being a third title for the DS with Golden Sun Dark Dawn, which is set 30 years after the first two games. Since Golden Sun is one of the more popular minor Nintendo series, there's a good amount of content from Golden Sun. First, we have 2 music tracks, with a Brawl remix which combines both the regular battle theme and final boss theme from The Lost Age, and Wayard, the overworld map theme from Dark Dawn. Next we have an assist trophy with Isaac, the main protagonist of the first game who is adept in the Venus or Earth element, and starts in the Squire class series. In Smash, Isaac teleports around the stage and makes use of 3 utility synergy moves, namely Move, which pushes enemies away, Pound, which is the only move that damages enemies, and Lift, which grabs enemies and carries them to the top blast zone. In addition, there's also a Mii Swordfighter costume based on Isaac, which, like his assist trophy appearance, is based on his design in the original Golden Sun. Finally, there's 8 spirits. Number 1168, Isaac, a 3-slot ace primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. In addition to being the main protagonist of the first game, Isaac is also a major character in The Lost Age, though since Lost Age is told from Felix's perspective, he's not seen in person for most of the game. Number 1169, Isaac Dark Dawn, a 3-slot legend primary grab spirit with the effect energy shot attack / resistance up. This being Isaac's appearance in Dark Dawn, where he's now an adult, with him being the father of this game's main protagonist, Matthew, with Isaac mainly serving as a significant NPC. Number 1170, Garrett, a 1-slot novice primary attack spirit with the effect fire attack up. A starting party member in the original game, by default he's in the Guard class series, who's adept in the Mars or Fire element, with Garrett often serving as the game's comedic relief. Number 1171, Ivan, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect magic attack up. a mage who joins the party when they leave Vale towards the start of the game, with him starting the game as a Wind Seer class series, with Ivan being adept in the Jupiter or Wind element. Number 1172, Mia, a 2-slot novice primary shield spirit with the effect Water Attack Up. One of the last known descendants of the Mercury tribe who joins Isaac's group when Satoru and Alex try to light the Mercury lighthouse to release alchemy, with Mia being a mage adept in the Mercury or water element, and starts in the Water Seer class series. Number 1173, Felix, a 2-slot advanced primary neutral spirit. Isaac's former childhood friend who works with the antagonist Satoros and Minardi after they saved him from a tragic accident years earlier, with Felix going on to become the main protagonist of The Lost Age. Number 1174, Jenna, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Shooting Items Up. A Venus adept mage and Felix's younger sister, who acts as an early game party member before then being kidnapped by the villains for a majority of the plot, with Jenna going on to be one of the main party members used throughout The Lost Age. And number 1175, Matthew, a 2-slot advanced primary grab spirit, the son of Isaac and Jenna and main protagonist of Dark Dawn, being a Venus adept who starts in the Squire class series just like his father, with him initially being sent out by Isaac on a journey in order for him to take the role as Wayard's protector. Magical Vacation is a Japan-only RPG for the GBA, which was developed by the studio Brownie Brown, who in 2013 renamed themselves to 1UP Studio, with them having mostly worked as a co-developer for games like Mother 3, Super Mario 3D World, and Super Mario Odyssey. The game follows a group of students that attend the Will-O-Wisp Academy, a school which teaches magic, who over the summer go to the Valencia Beach seaside school, which at night gets attacked by creatures called Enigmas, which then kidnap and scatter the students through multiple planes of existence, with it being up to the students to find a way back and deal with a covered up war between the light and darkness which caused these events. 5 years later, the game will receive a sequel on the DS with Magical Starsign, which goes from exploring the various regions of one area to the various planets of the Baklava solar system, with this entry actually seeing release outside Japan. Despite being a fairly unknown series, there's a decent amount of content from the Magical Vacation series, albeit with not much variety, the only things taken being 3 spirits. Number 1176, Magical Vacation Protagonists, a 2-slot advanced primary grab spirit, these being both the male and female versions of the player character in Magical Vacation, with the simplistic name being due to how the player gets to enter a name for them at the start of the game, with the default male name being Mash and the default female name being Mallow. Number 1177, Putty, a 2-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Weapon Resist Up, walking pieces of putty that can be found searching for putty peas. And number 1178, Mocha, a 1-slot advanced primary shield spirit with the effect Weight Up. Originally named Latte Rusty Nail, he's an ancient robot which serves as a party member, with him being a user of ancient magic. The artwork is from Magical Starsign, which in addition to being the game where he's called Mocha, he's also switched to using earth magic. Tomato Adventure is another Japan-only RPG for the GBA, this time being made by Alpha Dream, who most people know for the Mario and Luigi series, before they went defunct in 2019, with Tomato Adventure sometimes being viewed as a spiritual predecessor to Mario and Luigi, due to the two sharing similar gameplay and 2 unused songs based on Tomato Adventure's title screen music being found in the files for Superstar Saga. The game takes place in the Ketchup Kingdom, a land inhabited inhabited by children ran by King Abara, who loves tomatoes, with the game seeing you play as DeMille, who needs to explore the kingdom to defeat the 6 super kids in order to save his girlfriend Passaran from the king, who plans to use her to power a machine called the Super Kara Cooker, which he intends to use to turn everyone into toys. Since this game is pretty much only remembered for its connection to the Mario and Luigi series, there's not much from Tomato Adventure. The only things taken from the game being 2 spirits. Number 1179, DeMille, a 2-slot novice primary neutral spirit. The game's main protagonist who lives in a school bus on the outskirts of the kingdom, with his treatment as an outcast being due to him not liking tomatoes. And number 1180, Tomar Trio, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a star rod. A trio of side characters who want to change DeMille's views on tomatoes. The red one, named Red Tomar, acting as the game's narrator. The yellow one, Tamalo, teaches DeMille how to capture enemies. And the green one, Toma Green, makes signs to help guide you through the game. Cubivore Survival of the Fittest was originally a game for the Nintendo 64 disk drive, a Japan-only add-on for the N64, though it was later made a regular N64 game after the N64DD ended up being a commercial failure, with it then being converted again into a GameCube title. The game itself was developed by a mix of Intelligent Systems, the company responsible for the Fire Emblem and Paper Mario series, and Saru Brune, whose only other notable title seems to be the point-and-click game Jungle Park. Whilst Nintendo did publish the game in Japan, the US release was funded by Atlus, the same company behind the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona series, with the game not even getting a European release. The gameplay revolves around fighting and eating enemies in order to mutate your character, with the end goal being to go through enough mutations from eating and breeding to eventually take down the killer Cubivore. Since this is an incredibly niche title, only one thing is taken from Cubivore, that being spirit number 1201, Pig, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Improved Escape, this being the Cubivore you start the game with, which because of that, it has no special features. The idea being that your rebirths give you new skills you couldn't do as the pig. Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem is a horror game developed by the company Silicon Knights, who are arguably most known for Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, the GameCube remake of the original Metal Gear Solid, with Eternal Darkness also being the first Nintendo-published game to be rated M by the ESRB. The game has you go between 4 different locations, with each chapter being set in a different time period, with the main thing that helped Eternal Darkness stand out from other horror games being the sanity mechanic, where being caught by enemies causes the player's sanity to drop, which can lead to various effects, ranging from the heads of statues following the player, to the walls bleeding, all the way to the game breaking the 4th wall by tricking the player into thinking their TV is broken or the save file got deleted. Since the game has a mostly cult following, along with Silicon Knights having gone under after they were sued by Epic Games for using the Unreal Engine unlicensed to make the game too human, there's not much from Eternal Darkness. The only thing being spirit number 1202, Alexandra Roivaz, a 2-slot novice primary grab spirit. The game's main protagonist, who is a university student that investigates her family estate in Rhode Island after her grandfather, Edward Roivaz, was found brutally murdered, with her experiencing the various fights against darkness throughout time using a book bound by human skin called the Tome of Darkness. The Legendary Starfy is a series of platformers developed by the company Tosei, who outside of Starfy are most known for their work on the Game & Watch Gallery series, with them having also worked as a support studio for a frankly staggering number of games. The main thing that sets the Starfy series apart from other platformers being a higher emphasis on swimming and water levels, with the series consisting of 5 installments across both the Game Boy Advance and DS, though only the 5th game saw release outside Japan. Since Starfy is another decently popular minor Nintendo series, there's a good amount of content to talk about. To start off, we have Starfy himself as an assist trophy, Stafy being the 7-year-old prince of the Puff-Top Kingdom, a kingdom in the clouds above the sea. In Smash, Stafy will walk around the stage and damage fighters using his spin attack, which is his main method of attacking enemies in the games. On top of that, there's 6 spirits. Number 1181, Stafy, a 3-slot ace primary neutral spirit with the effect Weight Down. The artwork is from the Legendary Starfy, where Starfy helps a rabbit-like creature called Bunston restore his memory by collecting crystal shards. Number 1182, Starly, a 3-slot advanced primary neutral spirit with the effect Weight Down. Starfy's sister, who is introduced in the 3rd game, where she joins the adventure. The art comes from the Legendary Starfy, where she mainly served as the multiplayer character. Number 1183, Mo, a 1-slot novice primary shield spirit. A clam Starfy helps in the 1st game, who goes on to become Starfy's best friend throughout the series. The art is from the Legendary Starfy, where he's the one to tell Starfy that Bunston jumped into the sea. Number 1184, Old Man Lobber, a 1-slot advanced support spirit which lets you start the battle with a Mr. Saturn, an old lobster who ended up being the person who found Starfy when he first fell into the ocean, with him also serving as the tutorial character. The artwork is from the Legendary Starfy, providing Starfy a logbook to keep track of his achievements. Number 1185, Mermaid, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Water and Ice attack up. A mermaid who appears in the background of levels and throughout the series is the character to go to in order to save the game. Like the other characters so far, her art is also from the Legendary Starfy. And number 1186, Mattel, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Water/Freezing resist up. A pink fish that only appears in the 4th game, who seeks out Starfy's help to save her home, the Ami Kingdom, from invaders led by the game's main antagonist, Digil. One interesting thing to note is Mattel's first appearance was actually a cameo in Super Princess Peach, which released half a year before Starfy 4. GiFTPiA is an adventure game for the GameCube made by Skip Limited, a company primarily known for niche titles, the vast majority of which were Japan exclusives, with titles like the Bit Generation series and Captain Rainbow. The game sees Pockle, a young boy living on Nanashi Island, being arrested for sleeping through his own coming-of-age celebration, with him being forced into community service in order to raise the money needed to pay for a new festival. Whilst the game definitely has charm and reviewed pretty well in Japan, it did pretty poorly sales-wise and didn't release outside Japan, which has been claimed to be due to Nintendo thinking the game was too weird for Western audiences. Because of that, there's not much from GiFTPiA, with the only thing that was taken being spirit number 1203, Mappo, a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit with the effect Strong Throw, a police robot that follows Pockle to make sure he's fulfilling his duties, with Mappo kind of being the unofficial mascot character for the game. Sennen Kazoku is a Japan-only life simulation title for the Game Boy Advance, which was made by Indies Zero, a studio mainly known for a mix of experimental titles such as Electroplankton and NES Remix, as well as rhythm games like the Theat Rhythm series and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. The game sees you play as an angel who is sent by God to watch over a family, the end goal being to help the members of the families build up relationships in order to eventually have a family tree that spreads over 1,000 years. Since this is yet another fairly niche Japan-only title, this is yet another series which only gets a spirit. That being spirit number 1187, Cupid, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a staff. This being the angel you control, with them being able to use various arrows in order to do stuff ranging from affecting the family members' moods to making them work harder or towards a specific goal. Chibi-Robo is a series of adventure games brought to us by Skip, the same people behind the previously discussed GiFTPiA, with this easily being the series they're most known for. Originally, Chibi-Robo was a point-and-click game being published by Bandai. However, the game ended up being shelved until Shigeru Miyamoto managed to get a look at the game, with him then reviving the project as a platform adventure game after becoming fond of the Chibi-Robo character, with the game seeing you explore a house from the perspective of a tiny robot, the goal being to collect happy points by helping both the house's family members and the toys within the house that come to life at night, all whilst making sure Chibi-Robo doesn't run out of power by regularly recharging himself. Whilst the game did very well review-wise, its sales were okay at best, which could likely be attributed to the game releasing towards the end of the GameCube's lifespan. Despite this, the game would see 2 sequels on the DS as well as a Wii re-release of the first game. However, the sales were declining as the series went on, with the latter 2 games not even releasing outside Japan. The series will return on the 3DS with the AR game Chibi-Robo Photo Finder, or Chibi-Robo Let's Go Photo in PAL regions, as well as Chibi-Robo Ziplash, a 2D platformer which was made alongside Vanpool, who are most known for the Dylan's Rolling Western series. However, both of these games sold and reviewed poorly, with the status of both the Chibi-Robo series and Skip having been in limbo since Ziplash released. Despite the series' continual decline in popularity, there's still a good amount of content from Chibi-Robo. First, we have a Mii gunner costume based on Chibi-Robo, the gun being the Chibi Blaster, which is primarily used to fight off enemies called spy doors in the original game. In addition, there's 5 spirits, with all of the spirit art coming from Chibi-Robo Ziplash. Number 1206, Chibi-Robo, a 2-slot advanced primary grab spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. It's worth mentioning that each game uses its own Chibi-Robo, as there are a line of robots, with it being confirmed that thousands of them exist. Number 1207, Super Chibi-Robo, a 2-slot ace primary grab spirit with the effect thrown items up. Originally being an alternate costume locked behind becoming the number 1 ranked Chibi-Robo unit, Ziplash's version is instead a powered up invincible form that was locked behind the Chibi-Robo amiibo. Number 1208, Telly, a 2-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Screen Flip immunity. Tellys are the manager and support robots for the Chibi-Robos, which have a different look in each game, ranging from the original games being based on a TV, to Ziplash's resembling a spherical PC. Number 1209, Drake Redcrest, a 2-slot novice primary neutral spirit with the effect Weight Down, a toy based on the main character of a superhero anime that Chibi-Robo ends up helping a few times throughout the original game. And number 1210, Chibi-Tot, a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit with the effect Weight Down. Smaller Chibi-Robo-like robots introduced in Photo Finder that like to play hide and seek, with them also showing up as collectibles in Ziplash. Drill Dozer is a platformer for the GBA made by Game Freak, the same company responsible for the Pokemon series, with it also being notable for being one of 2 GBA games to have Rumble. The game has you fight off enemies and solve puzzles using the Drill Dozer, with the shoulder buttons letting you change which direction the drill spins. The game did really well review-wise, with it even being considered one of the best GBA games of all time. However, since this is another somewhat obscure one-off title, we only have one spirit, that being spirit number 1190, Jill and the Drill Dozer, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Berry immunity. Jill being the game's main protagonist, who's the daughter of the leader of a bandit group called the Red Drills, with her using the Drill Dozer to fight the Skulkers, a rival gang who stole a red diamond which was a gift from Jill's deceased mother. Calciobit is a Japan-only football or soccer management simulator which was developed by ParityBit, who seem to have mainly worked as the developer of the Derby Stallion series. Whilst the original game never left Japan, its 3DS sequel, Pocket Soccer League Calciobit, did see a digital release in Europe under the title Nintendo Pocket Football Club. Since this is just a fairly simple management sim, there's not really much to talk about in in regards to Calciobit, hence why this is yet another series that just gets a spirit. This being spirit number 1191, Pocket Football Player, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect shooting items up. This being how your players look during the match, with the artwork specifically coming from Nintendo Pocket Football Club. Rhythm Heaven, or Rhythm Paradise in Europe, is a series of rhythm games which revolve around playing various mini-games, which unlike most rhythm games which give visual clues as to when to do an action, Rhythm Heaven instead relies on the player picking up on audio cues to figure out what to do, with this approach likely being due to how the series has the same development team as the WarioWare series. There's currently 4 games in the series, with the original Rhythm Tengoku for the GBA, which was Japan exclusive, Rhythm Heaven or Paradise for the DS, which instead of buttons has you use the touchscreen, Rhythm Heaven Fever or Beat the Beat Rhythm Paradise for the Wii, which is the only entry on home consoles, and Rhythm Heaven or Paradise Megamix for the 3DS, which is made up of remakes of some of the more popular minigames from the first 3 entries, along with some new ones. Since this is effectively Nintendo's main rhythm game series, we have a good amount of content from Rhythm Heaven. To begin, we have 3 music tracks, with the themes for Blue Birds from Rhythm Heaven, Monkey Watch from Rhythm Heaven Fever, and Fruit Basket 2 from Rhythm Heaven Megamix. On top of that, there's 9 spirits. Number 1192, Karate Joe, a 2-slot ace primary attack spirit with the effect Fist Attack Up. A character that has appeared in every entry of the Rhythm Heaven series, with Joe being who you control in the series' Karate Man games, which focus on timing punches to hit objects that fly in from the foreground. The artwork is from Megamix, which includes 4 of the previous Karate Man games, along with adding a new one featuring Joe's dad. Number 1193, The Wandering Samurai, a 2-slot advanced primary attack spirit which can be enhanced at level 99. Another series recurring character which is mostly associated with the Samurai Slice games, which have you time sword swings to kill monsters. The art is from Megamix, which brings back Rhythm Heaven Fever's Samurai Slice game, along with adding 2 new games with Super Samurai Slice 1 and 2. Number 1194, The Wandering Samurai Rhythm Heaven Fever, a 2-slot ace primary attack spirit with the effect Critical Hit Up. This being the Samurai's appearance in Rhythm Heaven Fever's Samurai Slice 2. Number 1195, Sick Beats Doctor, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Critical Health Defense Up. The Doctor from a minigame in Rhythm Tengoku, which revolves around protecting a microorganism from viruses by stabbing them using forks, which you send out using the D-pad. The art is from Megamix, which brought back the Endless version of the minigame. Number 1196, The Chorus Kids, a 3-slot ace primary grab spirit with the effect Jump Down. The main characters of Rhythm Heaven's Glee Club minigames, where you have to time when the kid on the right opens its mouth so that it sings for the same amount of time as the first 2. The artwork is from Megamix, which brings back the original Glee Club game, along with adding a new shorter and easier version of it. Number 1197, Munchie Monk, a 1-slot novice Novice Primary Shield Spirit, the main character of the minigame of the same name in Rhythm Heaven, where you need to slap his wrist at the right time in order to launch dumplings into his mouth. The art comes from Megamix, which brings back the first Munchie Monk game. Number 1198, Reporter and Wrestler, a 2-slot advanced primary shield spirit. These two come from Rhythm Heaven Fever's ringside minigame, where you have to time the wrestler's responses to the reporter's questions, whilst also posing for the cameras. Number 1199, Baxter and Forthington, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a rocket belt. A dog and cat duo from Rhythm Heaven Fever's Air Rally, which sees the two keep a badminton rally going whilst flying planes. The spirit art is from Megamix, which brings back the game along with adding a new shortened version of it. And number 1200, Sumo Brothers, a 2-slot novice primary grab spirit with the effect Wait Up, a pair of sumos from the minigame of the same name which was introduced in Megamix, which sees you control one of the brothers as they compete against each other, with you needing to follow the rhythm given by the dog in the background. And that's all the minor series to come from the N64, Game Boy Advance, and GameCube. For the overall rankings, Kururin, Napoleon, Cubivore, Eternal Darkness, GiFTPiA, Sennen Kazoku, Drill Dozer, and Calciobit are tied 153rd with 56 other series. 1080 Degrees and Tomato Adventure are tied 109th with 42 other series. Magical Vacation is tied 88th with 20 other series. Sin and Punishment is tied 73rd with 15 other series. Custom Robo is tied 54th with Balloon Fight, Concept, Galaxian, Nintendo Labo, Shovel Knight, The Mysterious Murasame Castle, and Virtua Fighter. The Legendary Starfy and Chibi-Robo are tied 47th with Cuphead, Samurai Showdown, Tetris, Wrecking Crew, and the Light Gun series. Rhythm Heaven is tied 41st with Pac-Man, and Golden Sun is 40th, putting it above the previously mentioned Rhythm Heaven and Pac-Man, but below Monster Hunter, as well as making it the 4th most represented series that doesn't have a playable character. Based on the poll results, it seems as though you guys want to see an episode covering all the series to come from Bandai Namco. Whilst you wait for that though, I'm just going to ask you do 2 things. First is to vote on what the episode afterwards should be, and since I don't want to do 2 third-party videos in a row, we're pretty much down to the last 3 Nintendo-focused topics, those being Fire Emblem, Earthbound and Xenoblade, or Pikmin and Animal Crossing. In addition, I'd like to know in the comments what third-party companies you want to see for future polls. The main options left, other than Square, being Konami, Microsoft, and SNK. Other than that, if you want to know when the next video releases, or just keep up with the channel in general, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.